But why?
To provide an alibi for the murderer.
Précisément. I have calculated the time it would take for every person on this island to reach Cutter's Cove, murder Madame Marshall, and come away again between 20 of 11 and 15 minutes to 12. And I tell you that only Mademoiselle Darnley can have done it.
Monsieur Poirot.
Comme-vous, mademoiselle? You were the only one close enough. Yet the nature of the crime, strangulation by powerful hands, eliminates you. Captain Marshall was typing the letters. Linda Marshall and Mrs. Redfern were together at Sanctuary Cove. Monsieur Redfern is in plain sight of several people, both guests and hotel staff. Mrs. Castle tends to her duties. The Gardners were together above the bathing beach, except when Monsieur Gardner goes to fetch the knitting wool. Despite Madame Gardner's apprehensions, he would still not have had enough time to do the deed. Mademoiselle Brewster swims, converses with Poirot, and rows. Monsieur Blatt sails. Major Barry gets lost. Monsieur Lane hikes.
What about the tunnels?
Ah yes, the tunnels. They would certainly allow someone to reach Cutter's Cove undetected if their secret were known. But they do not make the trip there any shorter. Whether you travel from the Smuggler's Rest to Cutter's Cove, or the monastery ruins to Cutter's Cove via path or tunnel, the time it is almost the same. And without a compass, you may rest assured the trip would be much longer. The method of murder? Strangulation by a powerful pair of hands. Only a man or a strong woman could have done it. It is true, there is a woman in this room who could have done it. Mademoiselle Brewster. Forgive me.
Not at all. I believe in keeping fit.
This fact helps us to eliminate Madame Castle, Madame Gardner, Madame Redfern, Mademoiselle Darnley, and Mademoiselle Linda Marshall as the strangler. Strangulation, yes. A method of murder seen before in Devon. A schoolgirl named Millie Parsons. A housewife named Alice Corrigan. One murdered only a few weeks after the other earlier this year. One of these murders is connected only slightly to the death of Arlena Marshall. But the perpetrator of the other is far more intimately involved.
The murderer of Alice Corrigan.
Alice Corrigan and Arlena Marshall were murdered by the same man. How does Poirot know this? The unbreakable alibi. The primary suspect in Alice Corrigan's murder also had the unbreakable alibi just as we face here. An alibi based solely on time. Corrigan, the husband of the murdered woman, was apparently aboard a train when she was killed. Yet in that case, all a certain young lady hiker by the name of Elizabeth Stride must do is give the time when she discovers the body at least 20 minutes before Alice Corrigan actually died. The husband has time to alight at the station, kill his wife, and be gone before the police they arrive. Note how the alibi, it is worked precisely the same. And here the clue that demolishes the false alibi in the murder of Arlena Marshall is her stepdaughter's watch.
No, Poirot, you're wrong.
Linda's watch keeps perfect time.
If the watch of Linda Marshall did not keep the perfect time, I might have forgiven certain testimony as an honest mistake. But there was no honesty about it. It was a deliberate lie. The liar is Christine Redfern. You are a liar, Madame Redfern.
No!
You are the impersonator of Arlena Marshall. And the only way you could have done it is if you changed the time on Linda's watch. You had the opportunity at Sanctuary Cove. You had the opportunity to change it back when you sneaked into her room to add to her fire that cheap green hat you wore as part of your disguise.
But how could she change the time on my watch when I was right there at the cove?
Mademoiselle, it was easy enough. Turn the watch back 20 minutes the first time you go into the...
Not Patrick.
You think I believe in your jealousy, mademoiselle? When your husband, if he is indeed your husband, loves you and you know it to be true? No. The true motive lies in two documents.
Letter from J.N.
A letter from a former admirer named Jimmy Nash gives us an insight into Mrs. Marshall and her relationships with a certain kind of man. It is clear that he has requested and received money from her sometime in the past.
Letter from Arlena's solicitors.
A telegram reveals that a sizable portion of her fortune was paid out last week to her. £10,000 to be exact. Do you know anything of this, Captain Marshall?
First I've heard of it.
I said to Captain Marshall earlier today that until we can comprehend fully and completely exactly what kind of a person Arlena Marshall was, we shall not be able to see clearly exactly the kind of person who murdered her. And what do we see from these two letters?
Arlena was taken advantage of by men she was attracted to.
Arlena Marshall was a woman who needed to be admired, adored. It is true, but what was the result? She was fair game for a certain type of man who takes advantage of such women. Just as Jimmy Nash convinced her to give him money, Patrick Redfern did the same. And I know as surely as I know anything, that before Jimmy Nash, there was another such man, and before him another. Arlena was not the predator. She was the victim. That is her character, and that is the character of Edward Corrigan, the man who killed her, just as he killed his wife Alice for her inheritance only a few months ago.
No proof whatsoever.
Oh, I don't know about that. Here's something even Poirot hasn't heard yet. Although knowing him, he expects it. I sent a photograph of the two of you he borrowed from your suitcase to the Brixton police.
Allow me to make this small deduction, Colonel. They have identified you as Edward Corrigan and Elizabeth Stride, the young woman who found the body. Bravo, Hastings! I could not have done better myself.
Thanks, old man. That's dashed kind of you.
Oh, well, that's torn it. Edward, don't be a fool.
Say, that looks like my revolver.
You can go quietly to the noose if you like, my dear. I have other plans.
Poirot? Shouldn't we chase after him?
Poirot does not chase.
You damned, interfering, lousy little worm. One step and I'll kill you. I may do it anyway.
Here is your chance, Hastings. Warn him if you wish to. Try not to get Poirot killed, please. Do not signal with the lantern.
And why not?
I told young Monsieur Jenks the lie.
What's Jenks got to do with it?
That is Madame Castle's signal lantern you stole from her safe, that she used to signal the U-boats. To you find the lantern and also the code? I told Monsieur Jason that 3 long flashes of the light is safe, but it's the code to fire you see.
Thanks for trying to block my escape, but I'm no fool. You're bluffing.
It is no bluff.
Sorry.
Very well, Hastings. We can go.
Right. That's the signal.
Achtung! Stellen Sie Koordinaten ein! Bereit! Ziel! Feuer!
Hell.
Gut. Ziel zerstörtes. Tauchen!
One mystery only remains, Hastings. You have the clue. Code. What is then the code that allows someone to control their finger of suspicion? When you think you have the answer, tell me and we shall see what we shall see. Bravo, Hastings. That is indeed the code that unlocks their finger of suspicion. You have uncovered the secret of its magic. The case it is now complete, my friend. You have walked in Poirot's shoes.
Poirot, I'll be honest with you. Now that I've given it a try, your job is not as easy as I thought. But thank you for the experience.